Hello, in this video I'm going to explain about the 6 days of darkness. Let's start off in Exodus 24, and over here in verse 16 says that the cloud covered it 6 days, and the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And this is representing the 6 days of darkness before the 40 days and 40 nights pattern, and that's echoing to Jesus' 40 days ministry. And so the quick overview of the 6 days of darkness according to Matthew 27:45. In Matthew 27:45 it says, "Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour." And this is saying about the coming 3 days of partial darkness and 3 days of warning. Why am I saying that it's 3 days of partial darkness? Because here it was a period of 3 hours from the 6th hour until the 9th hour. And here it says darkness, which came before the 3 days of worldwide darkness that according to the pattern of Jesus' 3 days of burial, which is the 3 days of darkness in verse 60. So because the first 45 came before the burial, so that's why there would be 3 days of partial darkness in parts of the world and 3 days of worldwide darkness after the 3 days of partial darkness. And this generation, this last generation, will be as in the days of Noah. And why am I saying that this is the 3 days of warning? Because according to Matthew 16, in Matthew 16 is actually describing about the 3 days of cosmic warning. The sky won't be red for 3 days as a sign for us to go home for safety before the worldwide darkness that will be coming upon the world. And also in Genesis 7. Over here in Genesis 7, Noah was given a 7 days warning before the flood comes. So this 7 days warning is actually echoing back to the 3 days warning of Matthew 27:45. It would be a worldwide quake, mimicking the worldwide flood as in the days of Noah, which destroyed every living substance in the world except those who were in the ark. It will be a worldwide quake, according to Matthew 27. According to Matthew 27 verse 51, it says that the earth did quake, and so it's not a localized earthquake, but it's saying that the whole world will be shaken after the 3 days of partial darkness and 3 days of warning. And therefore this 6th seal event is in the midst of the 6 days of darkness, because this is in the midst of verse 45, 3 hours of darkness as 3 days of partial darkness. And also, this verse came before the verse 60, 3 days burial. There are patterns throughout the scriptures about the 3 days of darkness, such as the 3 days of blindness that Saul had, and the 3 days in the belly of the whale that Jonah had, and also the 3 days of darkness that Jesus had during his burial. And so let's look over 2 Corinthians 11:25. Okay, so here in verse 25, it says that Paul was shipwrecked twice. And there's actually more than this literal incident, but it's actually a kind of a prophecy for the future in relation to the 6 days of darkness. There will be judgments upon Israel, California, and New York City. These 3 places will be the target of the 3 Paul shipwrecks that are coming very soon. The first shipwreck will be on the first day. The second shipwreck will be on the third day, which would be the 6th seal, the global quake. And the third shipwreck, according to Matthew 28, would be the great earthquake, which would be on the 6th day, on the last day of the 6 days of darkness. You may ask why. The places would be Israel, California, and New York City. And let's look over the map of Nepal over here. So as I said before, Nepal represents the 2 high places in America, which would be California and New York City. And Nepal is the only Hindu kingdom of the world, and they are the false idols, representing the false idols of America, but especially their highest places, America, because of the highest mountain, Mount Everest, that is located in Nepal. And here, as you can see, the map of Nepal merging with the map of America. And the first major earthquake impact this year was on the April the 25th. And the second one was on the 12th of May. And so as you can see over here, the first one, you tilt the map over, you can see that the first impact zone is exactly on the west coast of America, and the second impact zone of the May 12 incident was near Mount Everest, and that's actually around the east coast of New York. And so this is a confirmation of Psalm 103:12, as I explained before, how it will be from the west. So that's the first impact, and the second impact would be to the east. And so why was I saying that Israel will be part of the free port shipwreck? Because according to Ezekiel 21. Okay, so here in Ezekiel 21 is actually describing about the 9/11 attack, and that is related to the New York City, the World Trade Center of the two towers. And so here it says clearly that the 9/11 attack would be prophesying against the land of Israel. So why is this related to the 9/11 attack? Because here in verse 4 it says from the south to the north, and as you can see diagram here, the south tower of the World Trade Center collapsed first, and then the second one, the north tower of the World Trade Center. Here in verse 9, a sword was emphasized twice, and that's representing the two planes, one over here and another one over here. And here in verse 12 it says, "Smite therefore upon thy thigh," and this is the lake area, and so this is the thigh area. So the impact area was upon the thigh. So if you see both of them like as the legs, and so this is the thigh. And also in verse 13 it says, "Because it is a trial." And so as you may know, well, as you can see over here, Denise said how it was the first time in history that the fire has ever melted steel, and even the building 7 was collapsed by itself. And so this is truly a trial, showing the power of God, that he could do the impossible, because the melting point of steel is 2,750 Fahrenheit, but the jet fuel burns at only 800 to 1,500, so that's so much lower than the melting point of steel. And here in verse 14 it says, "Smite thine hands together." And this is actually saying the hijackers that were in the plane. And according to flight 175, that was part of the incident. There were 5 hijackers, and it's the same as flight 11. Also 5 hijackers as well. So that's representing the fingers of the hands. So 5 hijackers as the 5 fingers of the hand. So altogether 10 fingers as 10 hijackers on the left and on the right. And so the 911 attack that was upon New York City is related to disaster upon Israel. Let's go over to Matthew 28. So over here in Matthew 28, it was saying that there was a great earthquake, and it's about the daybreak, because as it began to dawn. So this is actually referring to the daybreak after the 6 days of darkness, because this event happened after the 3 days of Jesus' burial. And so let's go back to the daybreak verses of Song of Solomon. So over here in Song of Solomon 2, verse 17, it says, "Until the daybreak and shadows flee away, turn, my beloved, and be thou like a roe or a young hart upon the mountains of Bether." And so this is talking about the daybreak again, and this is actually echoing back to Matthew 28. And let's find another identical daybreak verse, which is in chapter 4, verse 6. So here it says, "Until the daybreak and the shadows flee away, I will get me to the mountain of myrrh and to the hill of frankincense." So both of them are repeating the daybreak and the shadows flee away. The shadow is actually echoing back to the 6 days of darkness, because shadow means darkness. And so this actually saying that after the 6 days of darkness, where the daybreak comes, and that's Matthew 28, great earthquake. And so, because both of them, both verse 17 and verse 6 are identical, therefore we can add them together. So here it's the chapter 2. So chapter 2 plus chapter 4, that's 6. And verse 17 plus verse 6, that's 23. And so that is perfectly matching what I was explaining about the Nepal's earthquake over here that occurred on April the 25th and the 12th of May. Because on those very same days, so let's look over to April the 25th. Down here, it was the 6th of layer. So that's confirming part of the daybreak verses. And also in May the 12th, over here was the 23rd of layer. So that's exactly echoing back to the daybreak verses. Psalm 2:17 and chapter 4:6. So this is saying that not only the great earthquake in Matthew 28 will be upon these three places, but also possibly on the first day of the 6 days of darkness. Interestingly, as we go over to Revelation 6 seal. So over here, the 6th seal started on verse 12. And I beheld when he had opened the 6th seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And this actually go down to verse 17 and ends on verse 17. And ironically, there are 6 verses of this 6th seal description. And as you may know, that F9 is a day that is destined to tragedy in history, because the first and the second temple were both destroyed on the same day, and also during this period of time, the rebellion against Roman rule led to the slaughters of Jews, and the Jews were expelled from England in 1290 CE, and the First World War was effectively launched into motion during that period of time, and it was also approved by the Nazi party that led to the start of Holocaust, and have the Israelites cried to be slaughtered by the Canaanites. And so, according to Jeremiah 52:12, it was saying how on August 17 of that year, where the house of the Lord was burned, and the king's house and all the houses of Jerusalem. When you look over to 2 Kings 25:8, here says on August 14 of that year. This is actually describing the 5th month on 7th day of the month, which was F7. And this verse is actually identical to Jeremiah 52:12. And so this is also the 5th month, but it was in a 10th day of the month. And so it was the period from F7 to F10. Actually, these two verses confirming a lot of things, because when we calculate the both the verses together, if you multiply with 25 and 52, it's 100 and 300, and that's actually reflecting the 9/11 attack, because the North Tower death toll was 1,355, and that 1,300 number is the approximate number of this death toll. And interestingly, 25 plus 52 is 77, and that's also relating back to the 9/11 attack, which over here, the flight 77 that crashed the plane into the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. on this self-same day. So this another confirmation that the 9/11 attack is related to disaster upon Israel. And these two high towers of America, of New York City, are representing the two high places of America, which is California and New York City. So let's go over to Revelation 6:12-17 about the sixth seal. I said before, F7 was on August 14 back then, and F10 was back then on August 17. So interestingly, both 14 and 17 are included in this sixth seal description. And so, interestingly, if you see 12, the number 12 as day 1, 13 day 2, 14 day 3, I'm not trying to date that, but like just plainly as numbers, and 15 is day 4, 16 is day 5, 17 is day 6. Then now you can get the confirmation. So not only the first, but also the third day, echoing back to Matthew 27, that the sixth seal global quake would be in the midst of the 6 days of darkness. So this is in the midst of the 6 days of darkness, and so 17, that's the end of the darkness. And so this actually confirming the 3 past shipwrecks upon Israel, possibly. So not only California and New York City. So now let's go over to more confirmation to California's 3 past shipwrecks. According to a dual alphabetical system over here, in order to decode the California's 3 past shipwreck, we have to see in both ways. So not only the English way, but also in the Hebrew way, because like Hebrew way, like they read backwards. So A would be 26, so Z would be 1. So according to the greatest earthquake historically was on a May 22. So that's the largest earthquake in the world, in Chile. So the 522 number some measure. Okay, so the headquarters of the Apple, this very popular Apple company, is located in California. And so, as you can see, the apple here representing the fruit that Adam and Eve were having. It may not be an apple, but this representing the fruit. And so, when we say Eve in relation to California, because you can see the bite over here. It's actually representing the forbidden tree. And so when we look back to over here in the chart, when we find Eve E, it's 522. V 225, so that's 522, and E again, so that's 522 again. So what we can see over here is that there are 3 very, very great earthquakes in relation to California, because May the 22nd was the greatest earthquake historically. And so let's get over to Psalm 103, verse 12. This is Psalm 103:12. So it's again the California and New York City judgments. And actually, this is encrypted because it's not only about the 2 high places in America, but also Israel, because as we see the time signs of these 3 places. Okay, so these are the 3 time signs. One is New York City, one is Jerusalem, and the last one is California. And here you see that this 10 over here at the same time, 3 a.m. So 10 a.m. and 3 a.m. at the same time, that's resembling 103, and that's 12 a.m. And so that's 103 verse 12. So this actually confirming the last, like the 3rd shipwreck, the 3rd post shipwreck upon these 3 places. I think it's actually a beautiful aftermath after the 3 post shipwreck, because as you can see, how it says, as far as the east is from the west, so far hath he removed our transgressions from us. So the 2 high places in America, the removal of their abominations, I think we're rejoicing, because that's a rejoicing over how justice will be served, especially how Hollywood from California removing this wicked entertainment industry is polluting the hearts of mankind all over the world. And so through the media, music industry, and many more. The 3 days of worldwide darkness. According to Exodus 10:23, during that time there will be it will be pitch black, because it says how they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. So the world will be completely in darkness, 100%. And how artificial lights could be turned up supernaturally, because it will be so black and dark that people will not be able to see each other, neither rose from their places. And also, according to the prophecy of warrior princess, not sure if you know about her prophecy, but talked about how there will be great earthquake that will be upon California and New York City. And the thing that I want to focus about is how it says it will be orchestrated by the enemy internally. So that's reminded me of CERN, because CERN, their underground facility, so called the Large Hadron Collider, is actually kind of like an internal operation. And amazingly, when we see over where CERN is located, CERN, this place, laboratory, is located in Switzerland. And so when we look at the flag of Switzerland over here, you can see a white cross over a red background. And when we go over to this one, the American Red Cross, is the opposite of the Switzerland flag, because now the Red Cross over a white background. So this, ironically, this is referring to American. So, as you may know, that American Red Cross organization is about disaster relief, and so you can see the red representing blood, and so that's obviously about salvation of the cross. And so this logo is representing disaster relief. So when we see Switzerland flag in relation is shown. That is the opposite of American Red Cross logo. So that means that there were no disaster relief upon California and New York City